On the edge of what used to be Etobicoke, there is a 21-story condominium of glass and concrete, one of thousands built before the catastrophe, when Toronto still believed growth was the same thing as life. After the zone took the city, most buildings went dark. This one did not. It keeps warm. In winter, when the streets freeze solid and snow hardens over abandoned cars, its windows sometimes fog from the inside. At night, weak yellow light appears on the balconies. A shadow moves from kitchen to bedroom. A curtain shifts. On the 12th floor, a refrigerator opens, and for 1 second, cold white light reveals the outline of a person. But the building has no power, and no one lives there. Stalkers avoided it until a former firefighter called Bishop decided the stories were invented by greedy men protecting unlooted apartments. He took 2 others with him and entered through the underground parking garage. It was wrong immediately. Not dangerous, not loud, no claws, no breathing in the dark. Only the feeling of a place still inhabited. Like an old person's apartment after death, where the owner still seems moments away from stepping out of the kitchen. On the 1st floor, the elevator stood open. The cab was waiting without power. On its mirror, someone had dragged a palm across the glass again and again, leaving cloudy marks like feathers. Stairs, Bishop said. On the 5th floor, they found the first proof. Inside an apartment with a broken door, a plate sat on the table. On the plate was a piece of meat, warm. Yard touched it with the point of his knife. Real meat, not fungus, not mold, not vision. Someone is here, he said. Or was, Bishop answered, but he no longer believed in past tense. On the 9th floor, they heard water running behind a closed bathroom door. Not dripping, a shower. On the 12th, a child laughed once at the end of a corridor. On the 14th, they smelled soup, chicken broth, bay leaf, carrot, so normal, so domestic, that for a moment it hurt worse than fear. It reminded them of a world where people still came home. They entered the apartment. It was clean, but not perfectly. Worse than perfect. Lived in. A blanket on the chair, a children's book on the floor. A pot boiling on the stove. The windows had been sealed from the inside with something dark like old tar, and by the door stood 16 pairs of boots, all the same size, all wet. Bishop understood first that the apartment was too hot, not warm, hot like a body. The walls gave off soft living heat. The floor flexed faintly beneath their boots. The bathroom tiles were wet, not with water, but as if they were sweating. Then, outside in the hallway, someone walked slowly past the door on bare feet. They ran. Yard did not make it. In the stairwell, from somewhere above, a child's voice said, "Daddy, don't go." Bishop later swore there was nothing monstrous in the voice. That was the horror. It was too correct, too alive, too human. Yard turned around, and that was enough. Bishop reached the outside alone. The 3rd man was found 3 days later in the parking garage, alive but empty, staring at a concrete wall. He answered nothing. Only at night he whispered one sentence. "It is not cold there. They are waiting for us." Since then, no one has opened the warm house. But in winter, from the highway, stalkers sometimes see a curtain move on the 17th floor, and someone stands there for a long time, looking out at the snow, where the city ends and the zone begins.